Fantasy has always been something that's been pretty heavy on my heart. I like it. I love to play D&D. I like playing Skyrim, the ESOs. That's the stuff that I like. But sometimes people just don't want you to like what you like. Or they want to call you this or that for liking what you like. And that's okay. That's what it is. There's nothing we can do about that for the most part. But I was on Twitter today, and it was a wild ride. I saw that, yesterday, and this is from some of the people that I was following. I saw that yesterday had been Orc Day, apparently. Cool. Orcs are whatever. I mean, I don't particularly care for them or not like them. I don't sway one way or the other. But I found that the orcs were trending for the wrong reason. The first tweet that I came across that told me such, quote, "This is the one thing I'll say. Yes, orcs and goblins and elves aren't real, but the people who play the game are. The people who write the game are. You cannot draw a line between fiction and reality because they feed one another. It's a constant loop. As game designers, we are responsible for ensuring that ugly, harmful realities like racial stereotyping do not make it into the fiction. Because if they do, and players see it and use it to justify themselves, the game only reinforces the pain real-life racism sows." End quote. Some things right here, some things wrong here. The orcs and goblins aren't real, the elves aren't real. That's true. The people who play the game, yeah, they're totally real. The people who write the game, obviously they're real. They had to write the game in order for the people to play it. That makes sense. But then we get into this next part. You cannot draw a line between fiction and reality because they feed one another. I don't know about any of my viewers. I don't know about this person. But growing up, I played video games. And one thing that my mother constantly told me was, look, this is not real. This is not how it works in the real world. If somebody dies, they are dead. They don't respawn somewhere. We know this to be true. We know that there's a difference in what's real and in what's fake. At least anyone with two brain cells to rub together knows this. The argument that, you can't separate what's real and what's fiction because they feed one another is like going into a horror film and seeing all of these things coming down from Mars and attacking you. And you think, this is absolutely 100% true. This happened either at some point, or they are telling us that this is going to happen at some point, and it's 100% true. This is just like the news. That's how you get into fake news territory. Congratulations, you just became a conspiracy theorist. I digress from that, because what's real and what's fake are obviously different. Do they feed on one another? Yes, they do. But it is up to you, the individual, to determine either, yes, this is real and this is fake, or vice versa, and then figure out which one you are going to live in. And I think these people are living in a falsehood. They're living in what's fake. As game designers, we're responsible for ensuring that, things like racial stereotyping and stuff like that doesn't make it into fiction. Okay, to an extent, but that also depends. That depends very, very heavily. If you get into a game like Skyrim, since we're talking about the orcs and the elves, if you get into a game like Skyrim and you decide, I want these players, as a game developer, I want these players to understand that this group of people does not like this group of people, either because they are at war or because this group of people did something to that group of people hundreds of years ago and they still hadn't got over it, or, something like that. That, which of course people might argue, that's racism, that's the bad stuff, you can't do that. That's whatever. Get over it, If a game developer says, I want this to be a part of the lore, and I want people to be able to understand why it is, let it be. And then this person says, obviously if they do let the racial stereotyping in, the players are going to see that, and they will use it to justify themselves, which is basically what this person is saying. Let's be honest, because this is kind of a false dichotomy. We're being told if you do let the racial stereotyping in, and the players see it and use it to justify themselves. So, granted, yes, this is a hypothetical. If the players see it and use it to justify themselves, then obviously, yeah, that can be bad. Won't necessarily be bad. I mean, you can justify yourself in game and then turn around and say, no, it's wrong in the real world, but this is a game, ergo Proctor Hawk. That is one thing. But if I take this and I say, you know what, this is the way it is, I'm going to justify my massacre of this village, and then I'm going to go justify it in the real world, that's obviously bad. That's terrible. You should not do that, and you should probably check into some kind of ward, because that's not cool. But if you say, because of the lore, I can do this, but I can't do it in real life. Doing it in real life is just wrong, and you shouldn't do it in real life. That's perfectly fine. That makes sense. That allows a person to play into the character. Now, granted, a player may see that and think, oh, I think this is wrong, and I'm going to decide that my character thinks it's wrong. Ergo, we're not going to do that. There's so much that can happen whenever you put that kind of stuff into a game. And that doesn't mean that we should just ban it all, get rid of it all. It doesn't mean that at all. What it means is that we should be teaching children, this is real, this is fake, ergo it's not going to hurt you. Moving on to the next one. Quote, are Tolkien orcs racist? He explicitly based them off the stereotype of the Mongol horde, but not actual Mongolians. He told his son fighting the Axis that there's orcs on both sides of the war, including the Allies. Of course, that would be the only two. Building atom bombs, the Allies building atom bombs, Tolkien's orc is an agent of war, end quote. And this is completely right. Does Tolkien say, yeah, they're short, they're brutish, they have slanted eyes, and they're extremely aggressive? Yeah, he does say that. Does that mean that these orcs are Mongolians? No, that's not at all what that means. Do they share some characteristics to Asiatic people? They have slanted eyes. The Asiatics are stereotyped as having very slanted eyes. So yeah, that can be seen as a little stereotypical if you are looking for it. When I first read the D&D handbook, and I was reading that the orcs were extremely aggressive, they were extremely hostile towards pretty much anything, and the only way that it would make sense for them to have any kind of real empathy or real compassion for anyone would be if they had been raised outside of an orc village. When I saw that, I did not think, oh man, this is a certain group of people. I thought, no, this is a different race that obviously is going to be wired different internally. That's how biology works. Different species are different. They're different. They just are. Dogs don't go around meowing and licking themselves while up in the middle of a tree. That's not how that works. And, cats don't run around and say bark. That's how I looked at it. It was that, okay, because they are different species, of course they're going to be different. Quote, the problem with the D&D orc racial classification is not that orcs were necessarily designed to resemble black and or person of color cultures, but that the ideology of this group of sentient beings is unable to overcome the inherent animal nature of their bloodline is the same as in real life racism, end quote. This makes no sense to me. This is dumb. Saying that, okay, look, you can't overcome what's inherent, in your bloodline. Therefore, that's just as bad as in real life racism. This is a fictional character, okay? If this fictional character dies for whatever reason, nobody, legitimately, on a legitimate sense, nobody is getting hurt. Of course, some people may be a little bit upset that, oh man, my character died. But as far as, oh man, this was so bad and I was kicked out of a restaurant and this, that, and the third, no, that doesn't happen because your character dies. That doesn't happen because somebody says something mean to your character. It's not at all how that works. Now, why is it that perhaps this group of sentient beings is unable to overcome the inherent animal nature of their bloodline? Like I said, they are different species. If you delve into the world of Dungeons and Dragons, all of these different races, your humans, tieflings, dragonborn, orcs, well, it'd be half orc, that's a playable character. Some of your homebrew things like satyrs, genassis, or genocides, however it is that you want to pronounce that. Both of those, all of those are different races, and they're going to be different. They're going to be wired different. They're coming from different cultures, yes, and they are going to have a different idea of what is acceptable and what is not. Now, of course, you can change that and you can write your character to be any way that you want your character to be. That is perfectly fine. What is not okay is saying that, look, you're playing your orc as an extremely aggressive person, and that's racist. If, and this is later in my tweets that I was looking through, if you look at something, and I quote this, quote, "Orc are not real, they are fictional creations. If a description of an orc triggers you into thinking about a certain race of people, you might be the real racist here." And, fun fact, you are the real racist. If that is what you see, if you take a look at an orc, you read the description, and we'll go ahead and read the description here in a minute, but if you read the description and you think these are this group of people, or that's this group of people, either because of the way they look or because of how they're supposed to act, you are the real racist here. If you look at this kind of thing and you say, oh, they're just so aggressive, they must be that kind of people. One, you are doing the stereotyping, you're being a Karen. Two, you're being offended for someone else, meaning you're still being a Karen. And three, you're being a racist, meaning you're like 75% of Karens. But from the D&D handbook, I told you we would read this, we're going to read this, from the D&D handbook, Role-Playing an Orc. Quote, "Most orcs have been indoctrinated into a life of destruction and slaughter. But unlike creatures who, by their very nature, are evil, such as gnolls, it's possible that an orc, if raised outside its culture, could develop a limited capacity for empathy, love, and compassion. No matter how domesticated an orc might seem, its bloodlust flows just beneath the surface. With its instinctive love of battle and its desire to prove its strength, an orc trying to live within the confines of civilization is faced with a difficult task." End quote. Now, some people are going to hear that and they're going to say, oh yeah, no, that's definitely racist. It's totally racist. How? These are orcs, mind you. They aren't people, okay? So orcs, if you delve into any of the lore, orcs are, for the most part, one people. There's not really the idea of different races in the orc world. You have orcs. It's not like if we talk about this in Skyrim terms, you don't have like a Kathe-Rat orc or this other kind of orc. You don't have different kinds of orcs, which is what you find if you go into Skyrim. You find different kinds of people. You find different kinds of Khajiit. You find one kind of Argonian and one kind of orc. Is that racist? No, not at all. That's just saying that, look, these one people. And if we read into this, if we actually look at the description, most orcs have been indoctrinated. Indoctrinated, that's an important word. But into a life of destruction and slaughter, okay? So most of them have. That's not saying that every single one of them is the same, which is, what a lot of the racists on Twitter are screaming and crying. Unlike creatures who by their very nature are evil, it's telling you orcs are not by their very nature evil. It is possible that an orc raised outside its culture could develop a limited capacity for empathy, love, and compassion. This is what that tells me. You have orcs that are, very violent, very aggressive, they love war. In the same way, looking at the real world, we have animals that are super aggressive towards everything. They don't want to be around other members of their own species. They don't want to be around other members of any species. They are antisocial. They're solitary animals. But if we take a look at the other side of that, you have animals that are super, super social. And they have to be around other members of their own species in order for them to really survive. But, that's I digress on that because people are going to say, "Ah, well, orcs aren't animals, and you're racist for equating the two." That's not the point. The point is not that they're that they have characteristics that could be seen as animalistic. The point is that bear in mind they're a different species, meaning they're not at all like humans. They are a totally different species. If you take a look at them in game, what that tells me is that they are not a social species. They're solitary. Quote, Orcs is literally trending because some SJW who forced themselves into fantasy gaming want to push the idea that orc hate is equivalent to real life racism. Screw off, all of you. 2020 is the year we bring back gatekeeping. You've put comics in the hole. Aren't you happy? End quote. It is trending because some SJW who forced themselves into a fantasy game was like, oh, you hate orcs, that's racist. I can't believe you would hate orcs. Wow, I can't believe that you would just assume that that's racist because you are looking at this and seeing a group of people rather than talking with the people who actually play the game and asking them, hey, why? Is this like normal in D&D? Is this normal in Skyrim? Is this normal in Lord of the Rings? Is this normal in anything? And the answer, of course, is for the most part yes, because orcs hold a reputation. If you've ever watched Lord of the Rings, you know what the orcs do. Now, granted, orcs not to be confused with the Uruk-hai, orcs much different. And the orcs are running through the world, killing, pillaging, doing all that kind of thing. The Uruk-hai are doing the same thing. So, I mean, does it make sense that, look, we don't want to be, we don't want to be around them? Yeah, it does. It does make sense that, look, because you are killing us, we do not want you to be in our society, because that's all that you've been doing, is you've just been killing us. I think this person really words it the best. Even though coding exists in all fiction, in which it does, fantasy races are always open to interpretation by the grace of being a fictitious species. An orc can be whatever you want. To say that orcs always stand in for real-life human culture misses the point of orcs and fantasy in general. End quote. That's true. There is coding in almost all of the fantasy that you're going to read. It's extremely hard not to find it. Now, granted, some of the best, if you will, some of the best fantasies are coded very heavily. For example, J.R.R. Tolkien. Was any of that coded? Maybe, maybe not. If he intended for it to be coding, then okay, yeah, sure, you can say there's coding in there. But what it is it's up to us, the consumer, to say, okay, yes, we know that J.R.R. Tolkien was this or was that. For example, Theodore Giesel, I think. Giesel. Dr. Seuss. We know that he was anti-Semitic. We know this. We know that he did not like the Japanese. I think it was Giesel who was anti-Semitic. It might have been Disney. It's one of the two. We know that Disney is pretty racist. Was pretty racist. He's dead now. But you take a look at the people who were running around saying everything is racist. Oh, well, what Walt Disney did, he's dead now. His company's different now. Are they really? I mean, it's the same company with the same policies that was, set up by Walt Disney. But you've taken this and you've said, no, we're not going to look at the racist thing. We're going to look at what's actually good that's come out of Disney. Why can't we do the same with fantasy gaming? Why can't we say, okay, yes, we know that that's supposed to be a code for this or for that, but instead of allowing it to be a code when we play, we are going to make it something different. What we are going to make it is we're going to take this thing and we're going to make it good. We're going to make it completely different, fantasize it, do whatever. And you can make your orc whatever you want it to be, as is said by this lovely Twitter person. An orc can be whatever you want. I have played with people who said, you know what, I'm going to play an orc, I'm going to try it out. And, they decide, you know what, okay, here we go. We're orcs. We're going to be, super violent. We're going to be tough. We're going to be, barbarians, and we're just going to run in and we're going to kill everything. I've played with people who say, you know what, I'm going to be an orc, but I'm going to be a gentleman. I am going to be, dressed in the finest of raiments. I will host parties in my castle. I will run away and scream, like all nobles do when, stuff hits the fan. But oh no, you can't do that. That's not okay according to these SJWs. Why is that not okay? Because what they're telling you here is, look, the stereotype of an orc is this. Ergo, you have to play by it. You have to. You can't not play by it. What does that even mean? Why are you even a part of this game if you're going to tell me, oh, in this fantasy game you can't play what you want to play? Whatever, get on out of here. That's absolute lunacy, and that shows that you are a racist. Quote, Orcs represent black people, and I know because when I see an orc, I think of black people, because I secretly think of black people as disorganized, bloodthirsty monsters with low intelligence and a predilection for violence. You're racist if you don't agree. I am very smart. Yes, this is, end quote. Yes, this is 100% true. That's what we're seeing with these people who are running around saying that orcs, goblins, and elves are racist, because they're saying orcs are representative of black people. If you take a look at an orc, if you read that description and the first thing that pops up into your mind is, oh my goodness, they're talking about black people, you are a racist, okay? Just plain and simple, you are a racist. If you read the description for a goblin, or if you see a picture of a goblin, and your immediate thought is, oh, that's, I don't dare say that on YouTube to anger the YouTube gods, but if you take a look at a goblin and your first thought is, oh my goodness, that long nose, those big pointy ears, that like shiny stuff, that's that kind of person, you are a racist. Simple. Okay, simple rules for simple fools. Imagine, quote, imagine looking at an orc, an evil, ugly creature prone to rage and violence, and your very first thought is, wow, that's obviously a caricature of insert person of color. And then you have the audacity to call other people racist. People who have never once made that connection, end quote. I've never made this connection. I mean, I've never looked at D&D or Skyrim and saw the orcs and thought, oh my goodness, that's coding. I've never seen that, which, I mean, of course, makes sense, because I'm not racist. But the people who do, the people who look at that and they say, oh my god, that's coding and we need to ban it because, okay, you are the one who is being a racist. If you hop into D&D and you start playing it and you're like, oh, wow, that's, I can see where that could be taken wrong, but, I'm not going to allow that to be, dominant in this. I'm not going to stereotype. Okay, I can see where, people would say, well, they're racist because they made the connection. Maybe a little bit. But I mean, they are at least not going out and saying, "Oh, look, this is 100% these people, and these people are just, they're just as bad." At least they're not doing that, which is what we see these SJWs doing. Now, they are not explicitly saying, "Look, these people are like this." They're not explicitly saying that, no. But what they are saying is, no, you take a look at this orc. That is a caricature of this group of people. These goblins are a caricature. These elves are a caricature of this group of people. Okay, what you are telling me is that this is 100%, this caricature, if you will, this orc, is 100% a caricature of a certain group of people. What that tells me, seriously, what that tells me, is that is what you see that group of people as. If you read through this and you immediately think, oh my goodness, these are black people, or oh my goodness, these are Asians, or whites, or Hispanics, or Middle Easterners, you are probably racist. I mean, like I said, coding exists everywhere. The Red Guard in Skyrim, is that meant to be, a Middle Eastern type environment? Yes. Why? Because, I mean, we've got every other kind of biome. We need a desert biome. Ergo, you have the Red Guards. But I digress. Saying that, oh man, these orcs are just 100% racist. They're just a caricature of these people. You are the racist. And you're a Karen, okay? Let's get that across. You are a Karen if that is what you believe. If you are running around getting offended for other people, you're offended by other people for other people, you're a Karen and you're a racist. If you think that the orcs are, black people of Skyrim or of J.R.R. Tolkien's world because of their violence, yeah, you are a racist. Now, that's all I've got for today. I hope you enjoy it. If you don't, that's okay. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Reddit, hit me up on the Discord, the Minds, all of that. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like what it is that you're hearing. In the meantime, though, be safe, goodbye, and good luck.